this work is from, as you know, Michael Melanie, 695th Lord Mayor Initiative on Responsible AI. Nicholas Bill is the actual chair for this initiative. I am a member of the group, and I was asked to come and present because I'm aware of what the group is doing and how it's progressing. It also matches with my background. Back in 1993, 92, 93, I did actually an MSc in intelligent systems, which is precursor of a lot of things we talk about in AI. So as a technology, it is around for a long time, and it's gone up and down. I have seen programs, that means education programs, come and go. They are discarded because there is not interest. Then it comes back again because there is people interest, industrial interest, we need more skill in AI. But what is happening now is quite remarkable. AI as a technique has caught our imagination. Whether we need it or not, many people are using it, including normal people, students. They're all using ChatGPT for improving English of their essays they're writing, personal statements they're writing, to doing our programming. I tell you these from experience. We have come across all these different options, how people, general public, is using AI. Now that's more for casual use. There is a big utilization of AI has come forward in business, in industry, in government. And that's where some of our concern is today. So when we are actually using AI, there are a lot of good things that can happen, but there are also harm that can happen. And that is why responsible AI or ethical AI becomes so important that Lord Mayor decided to take an initiative on this. By the way, that's not the only initiative. There are hundreds of other initiatives going on around the world on ethical AI. I am leading an initiative across countries in manufacturing, production engineering, on ethics in manufacturing, and AI ethics is one of the biggest topic in manufacturing AI today as well. Now, what I'm going to tell you, little bit outline of what the vision is, little bit update on where we are, and then I would like to pick your brain to talk about some of these issues and collect further information, what you think in this space happening. I think it's wonderful to see how WCIT, with its soft network, can actually create energy and create visibility of such an important topic. It's only 1 year Lord Mayor works on these things, and within last 9 months, he has made tremendous progress already with several volunteers. And that's also very interesting for me to learn from. Michael has talked about this. This is one of the latest articles Michael has published. Citi is a financial knowledge hub, trading in ideas as much as in goods. And to trade in ideas, you also need tools like AI, which can inform ideas, which can also generate new ideas. That is what I call synthesis strength or synthesis idea of artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence, in a basic sense, can collect information, present it to you nicely in a structured way. But increasingly, in last 5 years or so, we have come across more intelligent techniques which can synthesize different logic together to create certain unknown perspective, unknown decisions, unknown ideas, which we have not seen before. This is where you hear about generative AI. ChatGPT is sort of synthesis, but in language domain. There are a lot of other AI techniques which are in digital domain, like drawings, images can be generated. You can actually have a video creation tool in AI, using AI, which can create guaranteed video which does not contradict any IP issues. They guarantee you. That means it's created as an original piece of document, piece of video. These are good development. And these things are a combination of algorithms, combination of higher speed computing, as well as storage. These are the three key components that has created these things. Yeah. And this is going to go bigger with more power, quantum coming in. So it will really shift the scale of these things going forward. So today we are talking about three things, and that's part of the initiative. And worth noting how this initiative from Lord Mayor has started the impact. First, through education. This is where Michael Milne and his office, using their kind of convening power, have encouraged BCS and another organization to work together to support training. And I will tell you a little bit more on that. I'm going to talk about an accord which the group Michael is trying to promote. And finally, a consensus, which are very soft ideas. These are not yet standards. These are not big documents they are producing. No, not really. They are using convening power to get the best mind together to agree that they will work together and come up with certain principles. And it's interesting for me to observe how the impact is created through this. And partner in all of this, certainly WCIT is in the lead, because that's where Michael from the philosophy panel. Is it philosophy? No, philanthropy panel. Ethical and philanthropy panel.
Ethical and spiritual.
Spiritual. Ethical and spiritual panel. He started this, but then he is fully supported by Chartered Institute for Securities and Investment, CISI, British Computer Society, BSI, UK Accreditation Service, UKAS, London Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Northeastern University, I'm sure that's his personal contact, and his own company he is working for is Zen Group. So these are the kind of partners in that committee. Now, I wanted to mention to you, when we are talking about responsible AI, I have mentioned many countries, not just many groups, many countries are actively pursuing this. There are research going on. For example, in Oxford, we have Ethics of AI Institute, big research center, and I mean seriously big, 60 million funding per year from government alone for safety and security of AI, including ethics of AI. Yeah. It's a huge initiative government is doing. So as other countries. US is doing the same, and many other countries. And China, by the way. China also have the same problem. It's fresh in my head. I've just come back from China a couple of weeks ago, and we discussed very similar issues, but we think world is different, and some of us are only thinking about this and others are not. Actually, everybody is looking at similar issues. There is a report from AI Index Report 2024. And I put up this slide just to show you kind of things this has covered. It's a chunky report. Assessing responsible AI. Everybody now claims they have ethical AI tools. Market is flooded with AI, small and large tools. How do you assess that? Privacy and data governance. A lot of my teaching actually covers data and sources of data AI tool has actually used. Even few years ago, many people complained that AI is male dominated because only data they could get is white male. There is nothing sinister because that's the data that was available. That's where it started. Then we progressively added more female in the context. Then complaint comes, you are only talking about one ethnicity, how about other ethnicities? And this is where big companies are redoing the training of data, the training of systems in different domains, different regions. And they're picking up the kind of racial differences in people's physical parameters and biological parameters. Transparency and explainability. Explainability is not solved yet. It is still in the main black box. And what is interesting, in 1992, there was PhD going just on that topic. So you can imagine, at one level, science hasn't progressed enough. Explainable AI has made some progress, but not enough to give you the full traceability for decision making. And this is very serious, by the way, for medical applications. The PhD I talked about, I mentioned 1992, they were looking at how to decide when to abort a baby from mommy because oxygen content in blood is reduced. So doctors were monitoring blood content in oxygen content in the blood, and AI system is supposed to advise how to protect mother and abort the baby before it becomes harmful. This is extremely serious decision making, and doctors refused to use AI in this process because AI, and in this case neural networks, could not explain why it is saying now is the time to abort. That's the level of decision making. Having said that, today when you fly, some aspect of aircraft is controlled by neural networks. So, and fuzzy logic. Not everything, and there are always duplicates, three parallel security systems that goes on in aircraft to protect us against this. As long as they tally, you have the overall security. But technology is increasingly used in life-critical areas too. Then there are other things. I've just come back from a country where face recognition is normal. You go anywhere. So we were biometric signed in one airport, and we go 1,000 kilometers away, another airport, we just walked through because they recognized me through my facial recognition, no hassle. Now, that's one interesting explanation This is what my Chinese friends were talking about. Look, my technology is working because you didn't have to queue up. You didn't have to do biometry again. It recognized you, it's safe. I do not expect that to happen here. I do not expect that when I go in Luton Airport, I can just walk in because I've given my biometry in Heathrow. That's because in political level, in social level, we haven't approved that. It's not that we are unable to use the technology. We are more than capable of using that technology. And our intelligence community, our police, actually uses that technology for crowd control. Technology is very much here, but we don't use it because it's our choice. And that's another angle which brings complexity to responsible AI. What is right in the society is very much our definition here, and there are other definitions in other environment. Then we have fairness. Fairness is a very broad term, but in general, it's about logic, it's about certain, for kind of maintaining certain rules. And finally, interference in elections, very topical area. This year, how many elections have we seen? 23, 24 has seen several elections, and I'm sure AI is playing its part in some of this already. We had one big casualty already in Cambridge, without naming the organization. Now, some of that could be seen as positive, but certainly it has done harm based on parties who have lost out in that game, and certainly it has damaged democracy. So from democratic perspective, this interference is not welcome. And at some point, responsible AI have to answer these questions eventually. Now, what it really means, a large part of these are not really technology. These are social systems which needs to work in parallel to technological development. And that's one of the things we will be talking more and more as we go in. Now, that was a generic, broad report across multiple sectors. Now, let me give you one example from one of the most kind of important industry sector we have in the country. We are second largest in the world in aerospace. And Rolls-Royce is the penultimate of aerospace we have. Very proud of it. They have their own network, their own framework to manage AI applications in their business and in their product. They do apply in the product itself. I'm going to, so it's called Aletheia framework. It's quite interesting. Greek word. It came from Greek word. And they are using widely across the organization and also educating supplier using the framework. So if it works, we will go to a web page. And by the way, this is all public information. And I'm going to now play this video for you.
This last year has really been about listening, and it's been about learning. When we launched the Aletheia framework back in December 2020, it was really with an aim to open up the conversation around artificial intelligence ethics. Our voice in that conversation is really about practicality. It's about moving from thinking about the really hard questions around AI ethics to a space in which you can actually make practical steps to deploy artificial intelligences in your processes in a way that not only you can trust, but you can also feel confident is aligning with the ethical position you take in the world. And what's been really wonderful, and we've loved to see over the last 12 months, has been the range and the quality of the conversations that have happened as a result of our publishing of the framework last year. We've learned about where organisations who are deploying Alethea find it helpful. We've learned about where they find it challenging. We've learned about where there are bits that we missed and bits that we should have included from peers in many sectors, the education sector, media sector, working with UNESCO, the UK government, with colleagues in the healthcare. And all of that discussion and all of that scrutiny and application of what we released last year, we've put into the second release of the Alethea framework, Alethea 2.0.
We've made 3 changes in version 2 of the Alethea framework. The first change we've made is to make it more accessible. So the language is no longer engineering speak, it's accessible to a non-engineering company, and also remove some of the organisational language that would now make it usable for a startup, for example. The second change we've made is to put more substance into some of the realisation principles so that people engage better and therefore the output is more robust. The third change we've made is to add a tool for helping people address the big challenge of bias in AI. The bias module is based on a very well tried and trusted engineering approach looking at identifying risk in very complex systems. We've taken that and applied it to AI, so the tool will there identify where the likely areas of bias are, what the impact is likely to be, how you could detect it, and then how you can mitigate all of those areas to massively reduce the amount of bias in your artificial intelligence. What I like about version 2 is how it's been a collaboration. Version 1 was a collaboration inside Rolls-Royce between our ethics department, manufacturing engineers, HR, even our unions were involved in creating version 1. Version 2 has been a collaboration outside of Rolls-Royce from those people who've used it so far.
Something that we've been really inspired by is working with other industries outside of our own. We've noticed some real value to be added in doing that. For example, we've been working with a startup in the music industry. This has been helpful to see how the framework can be applied in a startup case in a sector totally different to ours, but also working with a group of oncologists who are looking at using AI to develop cancer care. We know that AI is going to transform every industry. Whatever sector you're in, if you're creating AI products, you need an ethical framework to make sure that you're developing and using these products correctly, and the Alethea framework allows you to do that because it not only helps you to mitigate some ethical risks, but also might help inspire some things that you might not have thought of to consider. And that's why it's so important to work and collaborate with other sectors so that we can learn from each other, give advice, learn from our mistakes, and perhaps teach each other and how to use AI ethically.
So I'd encourage everybody who's using artificial intelligence or thinking about using artificial intelligence in their businesses to download the Alethea Framework version 2, take it away, have a play with it, have a think about how it works in your context or doesn't work in your context, and then join in that conversation with us so that collectively we can practically deploy artificial intelligence ethics into the world in which we live.
Thank you. One of the things I'm also trying to do in CIRP Academy for Production Engineers, we are doing a campaign to change members' kind of code of ethics, code of practice to include ethics, part of it. It's very difficult, by the way. Many institutions cannot commit to that level of standard, that level of expectation. You can imagine in WCIT, if we believe AI is going to be all pervasive across WCIT, all subjects we cover as a trade, should we expect our members to behave in a certain way to look after use of the technology appropriately? I will be the first person to support that. Michael and Nicholas and the group started working on training since November 23. That's when they started. So far, 6,000 plus people are covered through training on responsible AI areas, actually on two areas: domain qualification for AI deployers, so more domain-specific training for people who are implementing, who are actually deploying AI solutions in business. They're training them. An AI builder qualification for software designers, engineers, computer scientists. And between these two programs, they have covered 6,000 graduates, 60 countries, from over 500 firms, 7 regulators, 4 central banks. I was very impressed with that. But behind this was the power of BCS, power of CISI. They were the driving force, and BCI has done most of the training. And you can see here that further work is going on in legal, maritime, insurance, property sectors. 85 plus members of the Chartered Association of Business Schools are also rolling out numerous courses based on the syllabus. They have actually come up with standard syllabus, and that is influencing training from BCS, CISI, and others. They also intend to develop senior executive C-suite programs, and that's the future development. Now, this Lord Mayor position is only for 1 year. So that creates a challenge. How do you maintain this work beyond 1 year? I will mention that in my concluding remarks as well. The other thing Michael did is Walbrook AI Accord. And this is really about standards, creating standards for ethical AI. Advocating adoption of quality infrastructure for AI assurance. Lot of emphasis on assurance of AI applications, AI solutions from, I would say, ethics perspective. And quality infrastructure is actually a technique that is used for doing that. Developing assurance standards and methodologies, facilitating training and skills development for AI assurance professionals. At City, St. George's University, we actually do quite a bit of work on software assurance. And so we are very much aware of this program that's happening in London and around. But what is also important, in this initiative, in Walbrook AI Accord, they did not try to invent new standards. They are actually promoting 42,000 ISO standard, because that is well thought through, well developed ISO standard which they are promoting for AI. And I think that is the right thing to do, rather than creating another tweaked standard which will take 5 years to develop. It's waste of everybody's time. City of London Corporation has worked with UCAS and TIC Council. This is the TIC means testing kind of council. They are working together to do some of this work. And the invitation is open to collaborate on this. Anybody can go in and start using these 42,000, and Accord will respect that. That's you have joined the Accord and you are promoting the 42,001 2023 AI standard. And it's voluntary, non-binding, but what is interesting, people are talking about it, people are grouping together and debating these issues, and that actually helps in absorbing some of these ideas in business. Now, coffee house consensus is slightly different. It's, in my mind, it started around 15th of July with a talk by Michael in ICGN. It's around investors. And investee coordinate around responsible AI, thus increasing returns and reducing risks, which is very appropriate for London. And it has been developed in collaboration with major investors, and I'm quoting from what is available in public domain, whose asset under management exceeds about $27 trillion. So you can say major players are getting involved in these discussions. Now, they talked about number of ideas, which is its draft form at the moment, but they're talking about board of directors to be accountable for AI tools they develop and use, that they are not doing harm to other people. That's one. They're talking about investors need to assess opportunities and risks, and I think you would agree that should have happened in not just AI, in other things as well. Firm-specific risk relating to AI is being managed and mitigated. Ensure AI is implemented to preserve trust and prevent any harm. And investors need further work and systems to understand, assess, mitigate AI-related system risks. So actually, investors need tools, and they don't have all the tools and techniques to do the assessment properly. Boards should ensure that their company's AI procurement and development practices encourage development of responsible AI. It's not just the final product. We are talking about the process and business processes, and the governance in the organization should actually ensure that AI tools are responsibly used within the business. As I said, this is a draft version of what they want to agree between these investors. And I hope before the Lord Mayorship completes its term, this becomes more firm. Now you can see this is a major impact in a very different way, using convening power of Lord Mayor, using his own network and further network through Nicholas Bill and others. We have managed to group together. They meet regularly, and I am part of it, so I go along with those and learn what others are doing and contribute. Responsible AI initiative has already generated significant impact, and the most important impact is through the training in the first place with 6,000 plus students or people. Sustainability of the effort after 2024 is going to be a challenge, and people are talking about different models.